So if you're going to do an implant, what you want to do is place your slicing window over the site you're going to evaluate. Let's say we're going to do over here.
Let's do 31 since we're going to...
Okay. And you turn your nerve off. Delete that mouse guy.
Do the one that we're going to extract.
Okay, so we're going to go into there. Put yourself so you can see the implant, or the implant site very clearly, right? So center of the bone, see what you want to do. Go to your implant tab. Now don't get too hung up on taking measurements here. You can spend or waste a lot of time dinking around, taking measurements, saying, okay, I've got 18 here and I've got 22 here, and what you really want to be able to see is be able to visualize where the nerve canal is. You know, in a situation like this, I'm probably going to get this guy tilted the way I want to be able to see him. So I can see the nerve in conjunction with this, know my distances. For diagnostic purposes, it's very good to take measurements. But for implantology purposes, I think it's a waste of time, and I'll show you why. Because you can dink around and take a measurement, but the reality is, it's three-dimensional, so it's one-to-one, so you want to put an implant in there and visualize the distances yourself. You don't want to take measurements. So you click here, opens up, you give it a tooth number, and then you go in and you select an implant type. So say we're going to go ahead and do this guy here, right? So I don't even mess around with changing the implant size here. I would just say whatever's selected, I'd say okay. Do you know how to select other implants?
Yes.
Okay. You're gonna drop it in there, left click it in, get it kind of close. Then
you guys don't have Implant Direct yet.
Not yet, but very shortly.
Okay, you will, right?
Yes, very shortly. Yeah, we're actually working on a fully guided kit with them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we're almost.
That's cool.
It should be out here in the next couple months.
Really? That'd be awesome.
Yeah, they're going to be in our library in our next release, and then we're going to have a fully guided kit with them.
With CCAT?
Yeah.
Cool.
Built in the CCAT.
Nice.
Yeah, we've been working with them really diligently on that.
Very good.
As soon as you drop your implant in, remember, go to your implant align. So this is the last of our 3 views. We had our panoramic view, which is where we do most of our initial work. We have a radiology view, which is where we do our overall evaluations. Then we have our implant align view, which is generally where we plan our implants. Then from here, it's important. I think it's very good to scroll down in your axial view till you get a good buccolingual aspect. You can see your neighboring teeth, and then when your cursor turns into crosshairs, you left click and hold, and you bodily move that implant around. You want to kind of just generally line it up with the other anatomy in the jaw. So the tooth in the front, tooth in the back. Then from here, I can also left click and hold and bodily move it. I can left click and hold and bodily move it. If you go to the upper orange line or the lower orange line, you get rotational arrows. If you click on the upper rotational arrows, the implant will pivot off the bottom, off the apical end, see, like that. If you click on the bottom orange line, the lower orange line, it pivots off the top. So what you would want to do in this situation is line this guy up, maybe line it up so that the top of your implant is exactly where you want it here. Then grab down below, left click and hold, and go like that. Move that around a little bit. Grab it here. Your next couple steps from here, this is obviously other than getting this guy out and probably putting some bone in there. You want to evaluate. This was a straightforward case. You got something going on there too.
Yep.
It's probably I didn't see an involvement with that, but it looks like it may be creeping itself over. You want to evaluate the rest of the anatomy around your implant site. So you're evaluating for angulation, height of the crestal bone relative to the nerve, all those things. So what you do is, also one trick. If you right click and hold, you get the hand and you can move your image around. You grab this sliding arrow down here, left click and hold, and you rotate. When I rotate, I want you to look in these 2 windows. I'm going to spin the patient's skull 360 degrees around my implant site. And then back this way. He's got a nice big lingual overhang too.
So when you're doing that, you want to make sure that there's bone around the whole implant.
Yep, you're looking for a couple of things. You're looking at your safety boundary, which is here, and you have that set, looks like at 2 millimeters. 3, was that, do you want to set it to 2?
Yeah.
Most people set it to 2. They're more conservative in Europe, so they default to 3. Say okay. So now you know this orange line means 2 millimeters.
So that means you want bone around those areas,
Yep.
right?
So basically what we're saying is from the edge of the implant to this line is 2 millimeters.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a pretty generally accepted distance for implantology, right?
Mm-hmm.
Unless there's a unique situation, you don't want to violate. Some people are pretty comfortable going down to 1.5 millimeters, but
Mm-hmm.
if you're below that, you really got to understand be very careful with what
Mm-hmm.
you're doing because you're looking at loss of circulation and other things.
Mm-hmm.
So spin this guy around, and
Now,
you
when you change that setting, does it change it on all the computers?
it'll
too?
be okay. So now you're going to spin back this way, and you're going to look at everything. Make sure you're all good. Now the other place I like to look is in your radiology view, and I'll show you why. Because in this view, we get an isolated or enhanced area just around the implant site. So we can really truly evaluate what's going on with our immediate dentition.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go to your radiology view and you magnify your coronal slice, I now see the bigger picture. So if I was on the upper, I'd see my buccolingual bone as well as my sinus flora. On the lower, I see my buccolingual bone, my lingual overhang, my nerve, and I also see my implant relative to my existing tooth, relative to my opposing. So I'm starting to look at a broader perspective of how this is going to function.
Mm-hmm.
You know, make sure that if my implant was like this, you know, if for some reason I ended up planning it like this in this view, because it looked better for the bone, then I go to this view and I realize that right?
Oh yeah.
But you know, you go here and this actually doesn't look like it's too bad.
Right.
But you go to radiology and you blow this up and you realize, okay, I really need to go like that.
Oh yeah.
So that this, you know, my central groove is lining up there and all those good things.
Mm-hmm.
Then you can scroll in and out. I'm going all the way distal of it, all the way buccal of it. Make sure everything looks good. I'd actually probably go like that a little bit. And then from there, you've done a nice evaluation of that site. You've placed the implant, you've done an immediate evaluation, you've scrolled around, you've looked at all the neighboring dentition, you're here and here with your eyes back and forth, checking everything. And then you've also gone to your radiology view and you've blown up your coronal slice and you're doing a broader perspective. So at this point, you could send this off and order a guide if you're comfortable with everything that you've done. You probably don't have a CEREC scan on this patient.
No.
Do you have a case that has a CEREC scan on it?
No.
Okay, I can show you on my laptop.
Okay.
From here, if you had scanned this patient with that bite plate in,
Mm-hmm.
and I should back up.